Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. My intention today is to bring you some knowledge, particularly some thoughts that I have had about our relationship between the citizens and government, as I usually do. And the topic of today's discussion will be First Amendment auditing and the polarized nature of some of these auditors. Now, whenever you see police arrive on scene to an incident arising from a call of a suspicious person that is filming and recording on public premises of officials that are engaged in their public duties, there are usually some sentiments held by both sides. I'm going to speak about briefly some sentiments that I believe are held by some of these First Amendment auditors, along with some of the beliefs, the core beliefs, and the way that auditors are treated by government officials responding to these calls. Now, a lot of times, whenever you see these First Amendment auditors, and I'm not speaking about Second Amendment auditors, that's outside of the scope of this video. First Amendment auditors that are engaged in filming public officials on public property, whenever they are told to get out, bounce out, get the hell out of here, or whatever, these First Amendment auditors are going to stand on their rights, as I believe they should do. I believe that it is not our duty as citizens to obey the wishes and commands of the government that are outside the scope of their authority to be able to tell us to do those things. We as citizens need to know the line between that and between what we need to abide by and what is just the wishes and the opinions and the feelings of these law enforcement officers, because we know all too well that these law enforcement officers are very used to people that do not know their rights and do not stand on their rights and can be accosted, harassed, pulled over, stopped, roadside piracy, okay? Government officials walking up to you with weapons telling you that you owe them money is basically what this boils down to here. And all stemming from traffic laws that are written into law by these legislators and politicians that are so far divorced from the reality of these things that it couldn't even be more funny. It's very hilarious. It's like these traffic laws, a book of traffic laws this thick, where if a police officer got behind you for 5 minutes, you're definitely going to be violating something inside of somewhere. And this is the mentality of these law enforcement officers, is what I'm trying to get you guys to understand here. Now, at the end of the day, we are a free people that are being pulled over for very minute and very simple and minute things is what I'm trying to say. You know, you could be doing 7 over the speed limit and they're going to pull you over. They're going to harangue you. And if they feel a bad vibe from you, like you're one of the people that wants to stand on your rights, they will hurt you. They could do it physically or use the force of law as part of their tools to be able to enforce their will upon you because their ego is hurt. These are not people who are beholden to the wishes and the will of the people as much as they are going to subject certain individuals in the people to the force of law with their tool belt, and also stemming from their ego, okay? Especially somebody who thinks they want to know something and wants to be a roadside lawyer. You know, they're not going to take kindly to you wanting to assert your rights. And, you know, I've always come back to this thing, well, you know, lawyers do not get to practice in any jurisdiction that they just feel like practicing in that day. They are trained, educated, and they are in a specific jurisdiction where they practice law. But they tell us that, oh, you want to be a roadside lawyer, you want to be a jailhouse lawyer, oh, you want to be a YouTube lawyer, etc. You know the lingo. You know the stereotypical, accusatory, and derogatory nature of some of these statements made from our public officials to the slaves. Now, they will say things like, you know, roadside lawyer, etc. Well, you know, these lawyers that are trained in law, legalese, procedural things related to law, they cannot even go and practice law anywhere they are. So they expect us to be able to know the law everywhere we go. Some people travel across the country, all the time, daily, yearly, monthly. They travel, and they, as citizens, are expected to know the full wording of every law. Thousands and thousands of laws that at any time could be used against them as a weapon. Now, we get into how these First Amendment auditors are treated. Some of them are respected. Many of them are harangued even deeper and deeper, even though they are standing firmly on their civil rights. These officers are known to go around and hunt down any little thing they can to get these people's camera off their hands and their hands behind their back and their body into the back of a patrol car headed to a dungeon. Okay, where real killers and real hitters are camping out at. People that don't give a shit about the law. That's where they're housed up at, and they're getting ready to take your ass to camp out there because you think you want to know something. It's my belief that you can't really quite have a free country in that atmosphere, because the force of law that is intended to stop criminals from behaving criminally will just be used against you whenever you step out of line, against your own government, whenever we have a government that was not formed by the government. Our rights weren't given to us by the government. The government was formed and put into power by the people coming together and saying that we agree that we need some form of rules of law here, or things are going to be chaotic. Is understandable. But these police officers, they are of the belief that people like this are domestic terrorists and that they need to be re-educated, forcefully taken from their home, their sanctity, their liberty, stolen away from them, and placed into somewhere where they can have re-education. There are a select minority of people that want to change the law. They want to change the government on both sides. Activists that want more freedom, and also people that just want anarchy. There are a fringe minority of those on either side. I am speaking from the people who are in the middle that realize that there is a need for rule of law and government to a specific extent, and that I am also of the belief that there is a need for people that are educated on law to be able to stand up against the government at the same time. Okay? Where we get off track here is where they try to throw you into a specific group, and this is part of their control. This is a very easy structure and way to psychologically manipulate and control a group of people by taking somebody individually that is standing out against your dictates and your rulership and your authority, and lumping them into a group of people that have been known to be bad fringe people. So they take you that you want freedom, you have certain beliefs, you could be like me, and you just want to stand up against the government, and they are going to lump you into one of those sides, So this is a tool of the trade. Just like a tool of the trade is police officers stopping you and saying, "You don't mind if we search your car, right?" And the answer to a question like that is going to give them plausible deniability either way, whether you say yes or no to search your car. And it gives them the perfect argument in court where they plan to go, because the court system most of the time protects these behaviors from law enforcement, because we all know from case law that they are allowed to lie to the citizenry. Good police work is when you lie to a criminal to get them to admit the real bad stuff they've done. That's called good police work. But whenever you do that, that's called you go to prison. Okay? Once you go in front of a jury and you lie like that, your credibility will be destroyed and you will be in prison, no matter what you say, no matter how truthful you are. Okay? So they expect us to know these laws everywhere we're at. They expect us, whenever we're in self-defense situations, to be absolutely perfect, like we are Navy SEALs or in the special operations community. We are just workers, everyday citizens, and they expect us to have the caliber of the American Armed Special Forces, okay? Because if you make any mistake, you will be imprisoned. But if police officers make a mistake, they have qualified immunity, there are many protections, and also the stereotypical behavior of these situations is that Police are the good people. They're the heroes of our community. So the way the system works is that it works out in that fashion with that ideology in mind as well. Okay? So we need to be aware here that these things are going to continue on happening until we can be educated enough and have the confidence to be able to stand up to injustices that we see, whether they are real or perceived. Because either way, we do have a right to stand up against these people of power. Because at the end of the day, we give them their power, and their power is derived from our ignorance and lack of knowledge of the laws that they've set in place to be able to keep us enslaved. Now, you guys also have to understand that, the day and age argument is a very tried and true method for these people to be able to have more control over you in certain situations, namely traffic stops, or in these First Amendment audits or even Second Amendment audits. They are going to tell you that, well, because the day and age, and you're out here recording, we think that you're going to be able to, you're getting ready to do an operation plan for a terrorist attack. Or you are using your rights right now, but we know that you are recording children. So it's always back to those very sore subjects in our society of that, well, we're going to violate your rights, but it's to protect the most vulnerable, the little children. Basically accusing you of being part of some heinous, mentality, whenever really your mentality is coming from the place of you standing up for your rights. They will also use the method of saying, well, the day and age, how it is out here. It's a rough day and age. They'll tell people as they're trying to violate and trying to coerce them and manipulate them and force them out of their rights. But that argument fails whenever you tell these police officers the same thing. All these police officers that are corrupt and hurting people. There was a report done from the government of corruption of police officers way back in the day is different from the corruption of police officers today, because back then the corruption was based on people with money were paying off police officers, and that was the extent of the corruption. But today the police corruption is not about paying off police officers. The corruption is about police officers beating people senseless, okay, hurting them real bad. Because these police they have a contemptible atmosphere of mentality about them whenever it comes to the people. We, the people, are the people who are supposed to be able to stand up for our rights, but whenever we do stand up for our rights individually, we are treated like the part of society that society was meant to come together against. And these police officers are almost under some illusion that they are the force of law behind that mentality to come and chalk these people out of society that want to give them any type of tiff. Now here, we have to be very careful where we get into society in this day and age, because there are going to be terrorist attacks that happen in this country. How could there not be? Our government let in many people. We just got done with a 20-year-long war in Afghanistan and Iraq. People from foreign countries that hate America have been let in and even incentivized to come into our country. There is just a waiting time period before they come together, they organize, and they wait and they strike. And here's the thing, guys. Whenever they strike, what do you think the police are going to do to our rights then? How do you think they're going to treat you on a routine traffic stop then? How do you think they're going to treat you whenever you think you want to be a First Amendment auditor then? So I think now more than ever, we need to stand up and prepare for our rights to be infringed like they've never been infringed before. We do have First Amendment auditors and the like on the front line of that battle for activism and justice in our communities and to bring awareness to this issue. I think this is a growing issue. I think people need to be aware of it because I have children. I'm a father. I am a son. I am a family member. And, not just for me, but to protect your family, my family. Who is to say that, one of those police officers that we're talking about doesn't pull over your daughter in the middle of the night, start asking her a million questions? You guys should be well aware that, look across the country. There are so many people that are being pulled over for bogus reasons. Remember I told you this thick, 5 minutes, they got you? Well, that's not freedom. That's not freedom whenever, they can write a rule book this thick, sit behind you for 5 minutes. You probably broke 3 of the laws without even knowing it. And now they get to violate your constitutional rights because whenever you signed over your rights to get a driver's license, you gave away certain rights that you were not knowing that you were giving up, which usually in a contract law would be called fraud and the inducement. But I'm not a lawyer, so don't take this as legal advice, but I would hope that you would do your own research and not just take every word I say, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing my own research. I listen to people. I can hear the truth in what they're saying, so I research it and I become educated. This is how you gain wisdom, whenever you take knowledge and you put it into practice. That's what I'm doing right here by trying to tell you guys this. It is my highest wish that you guys would see this, you guys would educate yourself, and you guys would become weary of your government, weary of your relationship to the government and the people, and be able to stand up for your rights, if not for you, but for the people under you and to come after you. We should be of the mindset that we are going to come here and we are going to make this place better than it was whenever we got to it. Okay? And we do that by trying to attack these stereotypes with knowledge and trying to think and become more wise and bring light to this darkness. We are very close to having a total top-down government in America. That's not the government our founders intended. In fact, they intended for a republic, but we don't have that. A republic honors the rights of each individual, but a democracy is one step from communism. It's a group. And the group wins whenever they vote you out. If you want to keep your guns and the rest of them don't, you don't have the right to keep them. The group said and they spoke. Okay, that is not freedom and that is not true individuality. That is a groupthink system, and that type of system, guys, breeds hatred for each other because the system is built on making other people who don't think like you, forcing them to think like you by law. That is not a system where anybody is going to get along in. And guys, guess what? It's intended to make people violent, in my belief. The inherent nature of a system like this, where other people get to think away and vote out your rights, is a system that is going to breed hatred for the people that are taking your rights away with their votes. Okay, so we need to get back to these values, and we get back to these values by attacking our culture. We attack our culture with wisdom and knowledge because that is the same knowledge that they have hoped to conceal from us and to keep from us, and to, if all else fails, put us into stereotypes and make us feel like, we're part of this group that we're really not, to try to discredit and attack the knowledge that we're trying to enact. Basically to try to tell us that if we haven't went to law school, that we don't have the right to invoke our rights because we want to be roadside lawyers. This is the mentality that we must confront. We must confront this reality with nonviolent means because, again, guys, this system breeds violence. So at the end of the day, to collapse a system into communism, they need a system like democracy that breeds contempt for each other. And then they need that piece of the puzzle to collapse into reality. And that piece of the puzzle is a mass chaos in our country. Whatever needs to happen to get that chaos doesn't matter. The chaos is enough, and the chaos is what they need. And once the chaos happens, they will come down and they will clamp down and they will stop the chaos and they will institute a new system of government, and that would be authoritarianism. Our founders knew it. They spoke of it. You should read and educate yourself on the Federalist Papers. I definitely need to practice what I preach and get back into those papers, but I did read some of those papers, and I know I need to read them a lot more. But I wanted to reach out to you guys today as a public service announcement. Basically, what I'm saying is, you just driving down the street, you think you're safe, but you are in danger. You need to know that at any time you could be accused of a crime, and if there's somebody or a couple people that are working against you and they tell the police that, you are pretty much fucked. Okay? And listen to me when I say that. If you cannot prove your innocence and there's a couple people that have come together to conspire against you and they come to the government and the government comes on you, you are screwed. Screwed. So, the only way to protect yourself from that is to bring other people to a certain understanding of that, and to protect yourself with knowledge. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you've stayed with me till this long, thank you a lot. You guys are what I do it for. I love you guys. Educate yourself. I'll see you next time. Like, follow, subscribe, do all the things. Be safe. See you next.